Hello, hello, boys and girls of Nat Geo Kids, and a very warm welcome to our afternoon drive. And we're coming to you live from the Masai Mara Triangle in Kenya. I said afternoon because here it is in the afternoon. It's about 5 p.m. East African Standard Time. I guess it could be morning where you are. And my name is David on camera. This friend is Bungay. Bungay, good afternoon. And we're very excited to have all of you kids, boys and girls of Nat Geo. Please know we're very excited to have you on board. And as we have always requested you before, should you have any questions or any comments, you can send them through natgeokids@worldearth.tv. You can always request your parents or guardians to send us questions through that email address. Well, we got a topi there, and that antelope you see there is called a topi. And if you look to the left, there's a very huge tree. You see that tree there? That tree got some stuff or some fruits that are hanging on that tree, and those fruits are called sausage fruit. That's the kind of name that we use. We name that tree by calling it the sausage tree because of that fruit that you see hanging there. Now, I want to think this antelope here is going to look for some shade because at the moment it's very warm in Kenya. It's, I would say, hot, being 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And for those of you who would like to convert that to metric system, is about 31 degrees Celsius. To me and to these toppies, it's very hot. Now, you see the other smaller one there? Oops, that is a baby, and most likely that is the mother. If you look carefully, she's much smaller. And I think the mother have gone in the grass, maybe to shelter herself from the hot sun. Not sure you can see very well, but if you look carefully, you see the adult to the right and the baby or the youngster to the left. They got different colors. So the one you see on the right have that brown and dark gray on the legs and partly on the shoulders, while the younger one is all brown. The younger one has also gone under the grass just to make sure it doesn't get very warm. Now, boys and girls, apart from myself, we have lots of excitement for you to talk about and to show you. And we'll take you to another country called South Africa, to my friend Jamie, and she will say hello and tell you what she got for you.
Well, I'm a little bit far away from where David is, but a very good afternoon. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Sebastian is on camera with me, and a warm welcome to all the kids joining us on Nat Geo Wild. We hope that your parents send through all of your questions. Now, we're actually quite far away from where Gigi is at the moment. We are in a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa, where it has the dubious honor, no, not even dubious, just honor, of being the home of the birthday boy. It is our beloved leopard Hosanna's third birthday. I nearly said second, it's actually his third birthday, which is quite extraordinary. And it is quite something to know the exact birth date of a leopard. Very, very few people in the world who can claim that. Very few leopards we know the exact birth date of. But as it happens, we knew about Hosanna from the day he was born. It was Brent who found them with his mother Karula and his sister Shongile when they were just a few hours old. It has been casually pointed out to us that he could, of course, have been born just before midnight yesterday, which throws a spanner in the works, but we're not going to say that. Today's his birthday, we're running with it. So we are, of course, looking for the birthday boy, who hopefully is sitting happy on a big Impala meal, a big birthday meal. Everybody knows that the whole point of having a birthday after a certain age is to basically eat whatever you want to on that day. Seb, you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah? Pretty much. So I hope that is what our little chief is doing. I really do, but we'll be looking for other things as well, of course. No, birthday calories don't count at all. Especially not when you're a growing young male leopard. Sorry. I drove through a spider web as we started, and I'm still trying to get it out of my eyelashes. It did a wonderful job of tangling itself round them. basically glued my eye shut. Now, although I'm here to lend a helping hand, there is someone who is very likely to find Hosanna. It is the leopard whisperer himself, and he's out and about.
Well, I'm not so sure that's true anymore. I have not seen a leopard in quite a few days, which is not very good. But hopefully this afternoon will change all that. As Jamie said, it is Hosanna's birthday, and therefore we shall hope that he will grace us with his presence on his birthday afternoon drive. Now, my name is Tristan, as Jamie mentioned. On camera, I've got BK this afternoon, and we are thrilled to have you all with us for another safari for the kids of the world out here in the African wilderness. So it would be good to hear from all of you. Maybe you guys who have seen Hosanna, which a lot of you should have seen Hosanna, because he's been out many times on our Saturday kids safari. Maybe you guys have got a favorite memory that you can send through about Hosanna. And remember, you can just do that to natgeokids@wildearth.tv, and you must ask your parents or your older siblings to send those through so that we can try and kind of celebrate his birthday with all of you as well. So if you have a favorite sighting from a kids drive, then let us know. Right, now the plan for the afternoon is quite simple. Is because it's his birthday, we are going to try and find him and try and see where he's gotten. We've been trying for days now. I feel like I've been saying that the last few days, but we hopefully are going to get lucky today. Let's see. I mean, he could be anywhere at the moment. I have a funny feeling that Hosanna has been partying all week and has been having all kinds of different meals, and has probably got a belly that is like this from eating too much during the course of this week, which is going to make him pretty tricky to find. Although it has been sunny today, which means that maybe if he's finished all his eating, he'll go down and have something to drink. And we'll try and see if maybe he's having a bit of water at one of the pans. Now, sorry, Emma, completely missed the question. You can just repeat it for me. Becky, indeed, a party hat probably would have been a good idea. Maybe we'll try and fashion a party hat while we drive on the go. We'll try and see if we can get some sort of Hosanna party hat out of natural things in the bush. Typically, I think with Hosanna, his party hat should normally consist of some sort of thing that would be edible. He would like an edible party hat because he likes a meat pillow, and so I wouldn't be surprised if he'd have a meat party hat as well, which sounds a bit odd, but knowing him completely within his kind of normal way of doing things. But I'm hoping he's going to be around. Like I say, I mean, he's been absent since Tuesday, so we haven't seen him since Tuesday, which means that it's due for him to come out. It's probably, like I say, just been having a really good meal over the last few days, and that's why he's been a bit difficult to find. But the good thing that is that because it's been a few days, he should theoretically be starting to get active if he is on a meal. And water points are going to be our best bet in order to try and find the little prince on his B-day. What we need to do, though, is also just scan all the trees in case we can find a carcass somewhere up in a tree, and that's where he's kind of sitting. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Good. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to go try and see what I can find. In the meantime, though, let's send you all the way up to David, who has already found a cat for the afternoon, but not the ones that we are looking for down here in South Africa.
Very good, Tristan, and very well done. And I rather wanted to say good luck, not well done, because you have not been able to get hold of the birthday boy as yet. But we got an early. It's quite a distance from where we are. Let's see, boys and girls, whether we can be able to show you that early. Let's see what Bungay can do. And I'm sure you remember Bungay is the camera operator with me this afternoon. And from all what you had, that leopard called Hosanna has his birthday. So all of us should be preparing to sing happy birthday for him. And the good thing about leopards, they are not as many. Well, there are many, but it's easy to track them and follow them. Unlike elephants like this, because we got so many elephants in Africa, thousands and thousands. And you see the bird flying there? That was an egret. That's what we call a cattle egret. And there's another one there. Now, I want to explain to you, boys and girls, what could be happening there. Those birds you saw flying up and down, they are just tagging or walking along with that elephant. Because as the elephant walks, he disturbs the grass. And when he disturbs the grass, if you look carefully on your screen, you can see maybe some insects like white butterflies or so jumping and down. And those white birds that I told you are called egrets, that's what they feed on. Don't you think those birds are clever? So they look for where the elephant is, they get close to it, and they wait for the elephant as he feeds, moves, disturbs the tall grass and any insect. I'm talking of butterflies, grasshoppers, locusts, any insect. And that's very easy food, and that's what the final control says. They're very clever birds. Now, look at that elephant carefully, and you notice every couple of seconds, he is flapping his ears. Did you see that? Elephants normally do that to cool themselves. So when the heart pumps the blood all over the body, most of it ends up at the ears, and you see the ears are quite large. And the ears being that big, they have what we call a large surface area. So the blood is exposed to a lot of air, and in the process, it cools off before it goes back to the heart to be pumped to the brain and to other body organs of that elephant. Now, elephants go in groups, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100. Sorry, Rosalind asked a question there. Can elephants do what? So my guess is, boys and girls, that one is a male because he is alone. Very good, Rosalind. And you ask whether can elephants swim. You'll be surprised to know, yes, elephants are very, very good swimmers. Now, they look big, and I want to surprise you, Rosalind, by telling you, we have always seen some other animals, and I'm sure you know hippos. Hippos normally will live in the water, be it a river, a lake, or in a little swamp, and hippos cannot swim. And I tell you, elephants are better swimmers than, hippos. And elephants will swim in a river, they'll swim in a lake, they'll swim in a dam, any place that can give them some good buoyancy. Elephants are very good swimmers. Now, I was saying earlier, my guess is, boys and girls, this is a boy. And I'm sure you know elephants, as I said, go in groups. But when you see one or two on their own, chances are it could be a single male, what you call a boy, or two males or two boys. And when you see them in big groups, say of 10 and above, then definitely you'll tell those are females with their young ones. Ideally, in their social structure, the males live on their own, and the females live on their own with their young ones. So elephants, I'm sure we know, they are all herbivores, and what he's doing is just feeding. Thank you very much for turning around. I'm sure boys and girls now you can see his head, and he cannot stop flapping. Yeah, it's rather sad, as you say, he looks lonely, but that is very normal, or it's very typical for male elephants to be on their own. And you can see the amount of grass he's putting in his mouth. He's catching or he's cutting the grass using his trunk. Now, if you'd like to see the end of his trunk, at the very end, he got two projections. He got two parts that shoot out like fingers, and then he uses them to grab the grass. And once he grabs the grass, he uproots it because that trunk is very strong, and straight to the mouth. How clever is that? And then after every few seconds, flap, just to cool off. And you remember earlier when we started the drive for you, this kids show, I told you it's rather warm here in Kenya, and 85 degrees and above Fahrenheit. I'm sure you'll agree with me, it's pretty hot. And maybe that's why you don't see as many other animals out here, because most of them could still be under the shade. Just watch him. Now, elephants, you see, they got huge bodies, which also gives them some huge surface area for their skin. And if you look at the skin carefully, or his skin, it looks a bit wrinkled. It's not because it is old, but a wrinkled skin increases the elephant's body surface. And for that reason, it cools off easily. Otherwise, it could be too hot for that ellie or elephant to be out here feeding in the hot sun. Now, all the trees you see in the background, we call them torchwood trees. Torchwood trees, and the openness of the grass that you see there is called the savanna. I'm sure you've seen when Tristan was with you a few minutes ago, the area he is in has a lot of vegetation, lot of bushes. So there's one very big difference from Kruger National Park or Juma Private Game Reserve, where Tristan is, and where I am. And in the background there, you can see a very beautiful escarpment. And that escarpment is called Olololo. Can I hear all of you saying Olololo? All right, I'm sure you'll be able to be practicing to say Olololo, and when you come back to me, I'll want all of you to whisper to me Olololo. Now, I need to move on because I also want to look for different other animals for you, and as I do that, I'll take you again back to South Africa to my friend Jamie.
Things are a great deal thicker here in Juma than they are in the Mara. So, of course, it comes with its own complications and its own simplicities. Tristan and I have been working together. He's just radioed me to say he heard some elephants moving up towards Mvubu Road. So I've come along down Mvubu Road. I've come all the way from the north. Didn't find any elephants, but I'm just going to go check Galago Pan quickly just because I really feel like a good elephant sighting. That's exactly what I feel like. I had one this morning while I was having my cup of tea at about 4:45 this morning. Because guess what I did? I left my alarm on for the drone, didn't I? So I got up at 2:45. Well, I was awake at 2:45. Getting up would have been a strong term. So what I did find, I didn't find the elephants, but what I did find is the lion tracks. So it's really, really important for us to keep track of where the animals go, even if they're not still on Juma. It's really nice for us to know, okay, they're on Buffelshoek at the moment. So tomorrow morning, for example, once they're up and moving, there's a chance that we can go and check the northern boundary and figure out where they've gone from there. So that was the goal that Tristan and I had, partially for the SABC TV show tomorrow, but mostly it was for our own purposes. There's lots of eddy tracks around. Elephants really like these dense drainage lines, especially in weather like this, where it's muggy and very humid. So what they do... No, they've come the other way. They've come the other way. These tracks are going this way. Let's just check Galago Pan ever so quickly. It's a water hole up ahead. And then we'll go back and we'll go around to Gari Cut Line. As these elephants have come from this side. You can just see their tracks in the sand. What was I talking about? Oh, yes, we do try and keep track of the animals' movements as much as we can. Apparently, some of you wondering if all of the elephants are at the dam cam or might be around the dam cam. Are they? You have to answer that for me. I mean, I could whip out my phone and quickly double check. No, there's no ellies here. Are there elephants by the pan or not so much? I can see they walked up along Mvubu Road and then went into the block, so into the bushes off the road. But if there's more elephants at the dam cam, then I'm keen. Okay. Emma's telling me no. They have moved off. They have abandoned us. And they've gone north. Okay. Well, we'll keep searching. They're probably in the vegetation. It is ridiculous how quickly a large elephant can disappear. I was telling you about my elephant sighting this morning. I was having a cup of tea, and the next thing I just heard, it was a young male elephant, probably around about 15 or so, maybe a little bit older, but not by much, quite small still. And he was chasing impala round and round and round and round. And the impala were completely disinterested in him. I mean, they kind of ran away from him, but they were more interested, the males were more interested in chasing each other around. And this poor little elephant was getting so cross that these antelope would not run away from him. I think he wanted to keep all of the marulas for himself. So he was chasing them up and down and up and down. And then this morning when I came back from back into where I live, he was standing at the gate looking longingly at the marulas inside. And then he got very cross and tried to chase me along the fence. He obviously thought I was a threat to his marulas as well. And he was absolutely right. For marulas are fantastic. Marvelous news. Although I have yet to see the evidence with my own eyes, it appears as though ostriches do not spring out of the Mara fully grown.
Well, boys and girls, I told you we'll be getting from good things to better things, and I'm sure at the end of the show we'll be doing best things. Now, talking of funny or cheeky baby elephants, now we have a mother. But now Bunge is going to show you some chicks of an ostrich. Yay! Just like you boys and girls, we got baby ostriches here. She got 5. I saw her the first time she hatched these chicks, and initially they were 11. Now, out here in the wilderness, there's so many things, unfortunately or fortunately, that do happen because some other animals have to kill others for others to survive. And out of the 11, now she got 5, and they're going to cross the road. And if they cross the road, I'll ask you boys and girls to tell me why the mother ostrich and her chicks crossed the road. She's waiting for all of them to be together so that they can look left and right before they cross the road. And just look at them, how clever they are. They're just doing a bit of dust bathing. How sweet is that? Is that clever? And getting a bit of the dust to their bodies, either to keep the heat away. This is fantastic, and I'm the final control. I'm sure you're very happy to see this, and I know you've been following these chicks every time we see them. Boys and girls, how sweet is that? Just look at the feet of the mother and see how small those chicks are. Isn't that cute? And the final control who is directing the show today thinks they're trying to swim. You remember we had a question, I think, from Rosalind, who was asking whether elephants are good in swimming. And now she's saying that maybe these chicks here are trying to swim in the dust. And I just guess they're trying maybe to get a bit of dust to cool off on their bodies. And that one has woken up. It's time to run. Up, run. It's a hot, hot day here. And I think that might have helped to bring down the temperatures. Dr. Rob, how are you? And always a pleasure to hear your name and your questions. Now, apparently, ostriches will even have up to 20 eggs. And if, Dr. Rob, this was the dominant hen, what she does when they're just about to hatch, after about a month, she'll always move out the eggs of the weaker hens out of the hatchling, and they are always out. And then she is left ideally with her eggs. And I'm sure after about a month and a half, 45 days or so, is when they hatch. She ended up hatching 11. We saw her last year, and when the first time we saw her, she had 11 chicks. Then from 11, she lost 2. They went to 9. Then after 9, she lost 2. They went to 7. And I think apparently she's been losing 2. Now she got 5. Every other time, Dr. Rob, we have seen this female, she has always been with the male. And I got a feeling now the male thinks at this particular age, these chicks will make it. They face a few challenges, out here, and a few predators like leopards, hyenas, but as far as I'm concerned, Katie, you say this is the sweetest thing. Even for me, I get really excited to see them either trying to cool off in the sun there. It's so wonderful. And you notice how they blend in very well in the road there. So I was saying earlier, as far as I'm concerned, their biggest concern here in the Mara Triangle, the biggest predator are cheetahs. So, Dr. Rob, I'm crossing fingers that they're gonna make the 5 of them. And at this height, I think so long as they can see over the grass, the mother should be able to bring them up to maturity. Now, both males, or rather both males and females, will incubate their eggs. I'm talking about the boy and the girl. James, in average, I would say for every hatchling, I have counted about 30%. It's only 30% that will make it to adulthood. But of course, James, that will depend on where they are. Because when you get the nests of these ostriches, which they nest on the ground, of all the total eggs they lay, sometimes it's only 10% of that number that hatches. Most of them are preyed upon. By hyenas, they're preyed upon, by jackals, they're preyed upon, by Egyptian vultures. So it's only 10%, James would say, of those nests that make it. And then whatever number that will make it, then they'll be facing the challenges every day of lions, leopards, hyenas. But again, as they say to me, the biggest concern in this particular area are cheetahs. Well, fast runners, ostriches, that's the first thing they will do when in a problem, and I'm sure the mothers and the fathers train them to do that. Lorena, you'd like to give these chicks a hug. I will do that for you, and I'm sure you'll be happy if Bungay, keeps his camera on the frame there. So Lorena, take as many photographs on your screen as much as you can. Now, as we were saying earlier, both males and females, or boys and girls, do incubate the eggs. Now, look at the color of that female. She blends in very well, as you saw her cross the road and the grass. So the females normally will incubate the eggs during the day, and the males will incubate the eggs during the night, for the obvious reason of blending in. Now, of these 5 chicks, I would not be able to know which ones are boys and which ones are girls. At this particular age, they all look the same. But as they get to the 6th month or so, they will start fledging differently, and they'll have different colors. You'll start seeing the boys getting some black and white feathers, and those will turn out to be boys. And the females or the girls will remain as they are, and they'll definitely look as their mother. So when they all hatch out, they have a bit of dawn in their wing color, then they all get brown feathers, and that remains up to about 6 months. And after 6th month or going to the 7th month, you'll start them looking differently depending on what sex they will be. Well, I would say ostriches, very well done, and I'm so happy that I've seen them. I think the last time we saw them, was it a week ago? And it was a week ago, and I was very excited to see these ostriches. All right, Kito, you need to move, please. Well done, Kito. Very good ostriches. They got huge eggs, Huge eggs. Almost like one ostrich egg's like 20 chicken eggs. And yummy. We got ostrich farms today, all over Africa. Have I ever had an ostrich omelette? Yes, I have. And I would say the yolk is very thick. And as I just said, one ostrich egg is about 20 chicken eggs. So you would imagine it'll be me and Bungay and most of you boys and girls just to finish one. You can imagine. And I had once a boiled egg and from an ostrich. I was given by my friend who got an ostrich farm. And he told me it takes about 40 minutes to cook an ostrich egg. Would you imagine? So you'll put an ostrich egg in the pot, and you'll go have a shower, do your makeup before it cooks. Would you imagine that? Whereas normal chicken eggs take only 5 minutes. Exactly, we need a lot of people to do that. Well, I'm very excited to have seen that ostrich, and I will carry on with my search for more animals, and I would say that ostrich and her chicks have made my afternoon. Now I'm thinking of looking for lions, boys and girls, and I'm going to an area that they call the Sausage Republic. There's a particular pride of lions that lives in that area. So I'm driving towards a country called Tanzania and very close to a national park called Serengeti. Hopefully I'll be able to see those lioness or those lions. And in South Africa, I'm sure Tristan is working very hard to find out if he'll see the birthday boy Hosanna.
Well, we are working hard. We're trying our very best to find where our young male leopard is, but so far no sign at all. I've checked pretty much all the likely places where there's little wallows that I know that he likes to drink, and we are turning up blank, not even a single footprint to go on, which, like I say, suggests two things. One, he's moved off Djuma and is not actually on Djuma at the moment, or two, he has, like I say, a big kill and he's just been eating, and wherever he's got that meal, there is a water source close by that he's making use of. The thing is, though, is that most of the water sources that he could use, I've checked, so I'm not really sure where he could be getting water from, but maybe he's got a little sort of secret spot that he potentially could be using. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep kind of checking all the main water points that I can, in the hope that at some point... Rose Gold, you say your birthday wish for him is the longest life and filled with lots of impalas. Yes, I think that's what he would like. Impalas, warthogs. I don't think he actually discriminates against the food that he likes. He'll just eat anything and everything. And so I'm hoping that's what we find him on, is on some sort of an impala. But if it's a kudu or a warthog or a duiker or a scrub hare or a steenbok, I don't think Hosanna minds too much at this stage. Now, what I'm trying to do is, as we're driving, I'm trying to just kind of check all the big trees that are around. And the reason why is that if he's got a big carcass, by now it should be reduced to quite a small thing, and there should be only maybe a few legs or something like that, and that means then it should be kind of hanging in a tree. If he's got it for this long, he would have had to have put it in a tree to keep it away from hyenas. And so if it's up on the top of a tree, we should see little legs dangling, and that will make life a lot easier to find. So I'm trying to check all the big trees, as well as anywhere where there's shade. It's still very warm, and so a cat will be in the shade at the moment. It's not going to be really too out in the sun unless it's trying to travel for water. So, Bob, I mean, it's I don't know if it's that there's too many lions, but you'll remember, if you don't remember, I'll kind of remind you, but Hosanna's had a run-in with lions. He made a very narrow escape on quarantine, where a bit of his fur was plucked out and he lost a little bit on his shoulder and I think a bit on his tail. And so that will mean that he'll be very wary of lions. And when he hears lions calling, it's certainly going to make him think about where he's going to be. He's not going to just be lying around. We'll try and move sort of opposite of where the lions are. I don't think it would push him to move way out of his territory that we don't even kind of recognize where he's gone. I think it's more a case that he just, you know, will skirt the fringes and kind of just move a little bit differently to what. So yes, the lions could be a possibility that we haven't seen him as much around the sort of lodge and on quarantine in those areas. But I think more than that, it's probably, like I said, the night that the last morning that we saw him, that night, we had windy, cold, rainy conditions, the absolute perfect conditions for a leopard to be hunting, and it makes far more sense to me that he's on a kill than maybe potentially moving away from lions. But he might have, you never know. Maybe those tracks that we saw the other day going into Hofmann's were for him. But I don't think so, because the guys actually followed Hukamuri from Simamili, crossed into our side that night, well, that morning, and then when James went there, his tracks had already left out, so they knew it was him for sure, which would indicate that in all likelihood it wasn't Hosanna. But you never know. I mean, tracks are always, it can be, there's very few people in this world that can 100% confirm a track of a certain animal, unless of course there's a discernible limp or a certain marking on the track. But I don't know where he is at the moment, but we'll try and endeavor to find him. We're just going to keep checking everywhere we can. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you up to David, who's not struggled at all this afternoon to find anything, and seems like he's found another animal to show you.
Well, boys and girls, I can tell you, Tristan has a nickname, and I'll be telling you his nickname much later on when it comes to leopards. Now, we earlier saw an elephant from a distance, and now we are getting even more luckier because we got elephants that are much closer than the one we saw before. I'm guessing this one here could be another young male, but he is not alone. He is in a group. But most important, look at how he is feeding on the grass. See the grass in his mouth? Okay, let's forget the mouth. Now let's go to the ears. Look at how he is flapping. Open, close, open, close. Have you ever been out on a hot day and you carry yourself a fan? Have you seen people in buses or when they get in certain buildings and it's pretty warm, like during summer, and you see them trying to fan themselves from the face? This is exactly the same concept here. So this elephant is opening, closing, whoop, 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 and that way he is able to cool himself up. Look at the size of that ear. So the inner side of the ear is a little softer, and most of the blood vessels of this elephant, that's where they are. Now let us go back to eating. See how he grabs the grass? You see the trunk, and you remember I told you at the very end of the trunk, they got two like fingers projections, and that's what they use to grab the grass, uproot it, and straight to the mouth. If they uproot it and it got a bit of soil, sometimes you see them shaking it off or shaking the soil out. Notice the grass is very green because in December and part of January we had some short rains in Kenya which made all this grass beautiful, looking wonderfully green. Lily, I agree with you, that looks delicious, and that's why that elephant cannot stop eating. And look at that background of the Mara Savannah, and this one definitely you can tell it's a female. Number one, you can see her mammary glands, and you can see there's a pretty small baby. You see that baby? So in general, the babies will walk with their mothers, and the mother is growing, and she's like, don't leave me behind. I might get lost in town. Wow, they're not in town, they're in the African wilderness. And look carefully now. Boys and girls, I want you to notice that most animals in Africa or in the world got their mammary glands between their behind or between their back legs. But for elephants, it's different. They got their mammary glands between their front legs. Mammary glands, I'm talking about from where the baby elephants will suckle to get milk. You see the same bird that we saw earlier that we called egrets? And the same story. Did you see the blood vessels I was talking about? If she is going to flap her ears again, look carefully. You're going to see like vessels behind the ear. And those are vessels that carry, you see that? Yes. That carry the brain, that carry the blood from the heart. It is pumped to the ears to be cooled off. You see that carefully? It looks like a leaf. Do you see that? If you'd imagine cutting a leaf and you see all those veins and lines from a leaf, that's exactly what the behind of an elephant looks like. And those vessels are huge to allow a lot of blood to be pumped there, to be cooled off, so that when it goes back to the brain, it is cool and not having very hot blood going to the brain. Look at that baby there. MGN, I agree with you. This is a big mama, and she got huge tusks by any standard. And MGN, this reminds me of the elephants of yesteryears, where we had elephants having very huge and long tusks, where that generation disappeared, I would say, many years ago because of the big poaching. But luckily, once in a while, we'll see MGN, like that particular cow there, having very huge tusks. Thank you, MGN, for your comment, and always a pleasure to hear your name, to know you enjoy these wonderful experiences or sightings from the African wilderness. Now, the grass you see there, we call it the red oat grass. Francis, not sure your question is why they fan their ears so much. And why they do that is because of the heat. I might have missed something there, M. So the grass there. Oh, very good, Francis. I now get your question. And the body morphology of an elephant, that's how it is designed. So that, Francis, it can hold its big body. And that is the spine. And Francis, we have always been looking at the elephants here in Kenya and the elephants in South Africa. And well, we have always thought the ones here are more rounded and the ones in South Africa are more angular. And the spine of those in South Africa is more, more conspicuous than the elephants here. I don't know, and that could be a big debate. I'm sure Tristan and Jamie will chip in on the same. But when we look at them, and it's not about age, because, Francis, you might think an old elephant will have the spine out there. But I think for me, is just to keep the shape of the body morphology. This being, Francis, the largest mammals that we got in the world. Well, outside land, on land, of course, we've got whales, which are much bigger than this, but on land, boys and girls, I'm sure elephants are the largest mammals. And also something interesting to tell you, boys and girls, is that elephants are David's favorite animals. I'm sure you all still remember my name, don't you? Remember, I had given you an assignment earlier to say olololo after I had shown you that escarpment. So the grass they're feeding on is what we'll call the red oat grass. Now, these calves, if they're very, very young, they may not be able to eat the grass, and they'll have to depend on the mother's milk until they're much bigger. How wonderful is that? And we have the best light ever. Very good, boys and girls. These elephants can keep me here for the next 2 hours, but I thought I should be looking for some different animals because Jamie already got something that none of us have seen today.
2 big animals, as it happens, and as well as 2 of the loudest animals, but we'll get back to those in a little bit. So there you go. As usual, Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah, presumably. I mean, unless it looks like we've got a male and a female here. I'm not sure exactly how thoroughly everybody's been checking when labeling the one Snorkel Sarah, but I'm pretty certain that the hippo at the back is a female. So there you go. For those of you who wanted to see hippopotamus on this fine and sunny afternoon, we have a pair of them at one of the local watering holes. And I have to say, I'm starting to get a bit concerned about the amount of rain that we've had. It's now February, and we started off really well. We started off really, really well in December. We had a few really nice big rainfalls, and it filled up the dams a little bit. But there's no way that this dam should be looking like this in Feb. And I think by the time October comes, animals like these hippopotamus are going to be having a very tough time indeed. Hippo, of course, for those of you that don't know, are dependent upon water. They have to be in water during the day. Their skin is sensitive to the sun. They're clearly animals that are adapted to utilizing water sources. Now, here where we are in Djuma, there are no flowing river systems, so they're reliant on these large water holes in order to stay alive. And I suspect that by the time our dry season is finished, it's going to be a struggle for them, unless this front that's coming in the next few days brings us a vast amount of rain. I remember the days when Buffelshoek Dam used to be almost up to this wall, and the hippos reveled in it, and the elephants had a wonderful swim every now and again. got a little passenger there. Hitching a ride. This the terrapin equivalent of having a really large lilo. Although it does look a little bit like it's wearing a hat now. Sort of, not quite a fez. Something like that. Imagine how nice it is to be a terrapin. Pop into the water whenever it gets a bit too hot and then climb onto your own personal hippopotamus. You can see it stretching out, sunbathing. It might even, if it gets really lucky, I guess, it might even be able to get it. Oh, no, the lilo is submerging. The lilo is sinking. Ah! Luckily, the terrapin can swim. Maybe that was the last thing it wanted. Look at his feet! No! Stretching its feet out. Panic! Oh dear. Oh, look, abandoned. No more hippo lilo. No more hippo lilo. Done. That's the problem. It's great having a hippo lilo because you actually have plenty of space. But at the same time, it's the unpredictability of it, which no one wants in a lilo. There's nothing worse than a suddenly finding yourself in the water when you thought you were quite happy. Oh dear, hippos can't catch a break. The floating island is home to many different creatures. In this case, it is an oxpecker who is utilizing the hippopotamus's eyebrow in order to have a drink, which, quite frankly, I feel is thoroughly inconsiderate. I mean, stand on its head by all means, but its eyebrow, that's just rude. Now, Alrus, you want to know what sort of predators might be a threat to a hippopotamus. Oh! An oxpecker get a little surprise there. Well, certainly not an oxpecker. Usually the only thing that's an actual threat in terms of predators to a hippo is a pride of lions, just because hippopotamus are so large. But in the Masai Mara, oh, look at that. Someone's had a lucky escape. That could be lions. That could also be another hippo, but that could be lions. So lions, and then in the Mara, the clans of hyena are large enough to hunt hippopotamus as well. Mostly you'll find that they'll go for babies or for injured individuals. So large adult hippopotamus that have been really badly mauled in a fight with another for territorial rights, or perhaps weakened by the drought or whatever it happens to be. Those two animals are really the only two animals that are a threat to a hippopotamus. The other big threat that hippopotamus face, of course, is first of all the drought, and secondly, once the drought starts happening, pressure from other hippo. There's only so many hippo that a waterhole can sustain. Right now, Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah have got things quite nice. They're the equivalent of the trendy couple who moved way out past the suburbs to no longer be cramped into the inner city and found themselves a nice big old waterhole all to themselves where the rates are much lower and the scenery is much better. Might mean that they have to commute a bit further, but all in all it's worth it for the peace of mind. I have absolutely no idea what it was said. It was something about coffee on Sundays.
Me too.
I missed the beginning part of it. Something about coffee on Sundays. I imagine they have brunch on Sundays. They go into the city. I see. Emma said drinking artisanal hipster coffees on a Sunday. That pretty much defines the up-and-coming Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah. Snorkel Sarah is, in fact, an influencer on Instagram. So, whatever that means, it's a new term that I've only recently learned, and quite frankly, sounds like something out of a TV show. But Snorkel Sarah is an influencer, and Scuba Steve writes in his spare time and takes really blurry but artistic photographs that he uploads onto his Instagram account with trite quotes underneath. I know that this is not the characterization that James wants for Snorkel Steve and Scuba Sarah. No? Scuba Steve and Snorkel Sarah? But there you have it. If Scuba Steve could have a man bun, he would. And on that note, I'm going to continue on looking for Hosanna. I've heard rumors of his tracks heading in this direction. While I do that, off you pop across to David, who's working hard in the Mara.
Well, boys and girls, how cool was that? You had some hippopotamus, and now you're back with me. And what we're going to do is to look for something different, as I promised you. Now, I think we've done very well with elephants. We have done hippos. And it's time we look for something different. Earlier, I was talking about looking for lions in an area that I call the Sausage Republic. Sausage Republic because it's an area where a particular pride of lions live. And because they love that area so much, I give it that nickname, and I call it the Sausage Republic. And lions are very territorial. What does that mean? Territorial means that if you got 2 or 3 or 4, 10 lions in a particular area, they'll make sure other lions do not get there. So they own that particular piece of land, and that's what it means to be territorial. And should another pride or another group of lions try to come in, they'll always have a bit of friction, they'll always have a bit of a fight to make sure that the new group is pushed out. You might be wondering why we call it the sausage tree. Now, because we know our animals very well, we follow them every day, we'll give them names, and the names will depend on 2 things, I would say. Number 1, on how they look, their physical looks. Some have bigger ears than others, some have, bigger eyes than others, or some have short tails. So that's one of the reasons why we give them particular names. And second reason is by their behavior, what they do on daily basis. Now, this particular pride of lions love to climb trees, and one of the trees they love, of the very many trees that we have in the Mara, there's a particular tree they love to climb, and that tree is called the sausage tree. And if you remember, when we started the drive, we saw one tree near the antelope that I told you is called Toppy. And in maybe another few seconds, I'll show you the same tree and maybe much closer. Bungay, tell me when to stop. Okay, the second reason, boys and girls, as I told you, we'll name the trees or name these particular lions because of what they do now. This is an example of a sausage tree. And if you look carefully, we got some fruit that are hanging down, and those fruit, we call them sausages because they take the shape of a sausage. Now, this particular pride that we'll be looking for later on after they leave here, they have loved to climb this tree because if you look carefully, it's very solid, very green leaves, so they'll get some nice shade when they climb it, or when there's so many flies on the ground that are irritating, they love to climb this tree. Now, boys and girls, let me go look for my lions, but as we carry on to do that, let's go to Tristan, who is tracking in South Africa.
We are indeed, and while this is not the tracks for Hosanna that we were looking for, these are tracks for another leopard that I'm really hoping that we find, and they are good, fresh tracks that have been walking around during the course of today. And these tracks are for a leopard we know as Shadulu, and she's got 2 little cubs at the moment. And so I've just been checking her tracks, and her tracks are going up and down, which could be an indication that maybe she's just scouting around, trying to see maybe there's a new place that she wants to move her cubs, or if she wants to maybe at some point have a carcass here and is going back to go and feed the cubs or something like that. So we're going to track these tracks. Her first tracks go sort of southwards, and then these are the fresher set of tracks that are going back north. And so I'm going to just loop around and just double check she hasn't crossed out of our area, because we're right on the western boundary, but hopefully it's going to be a good sign. I found a bush where she scent marked, and the bush itself, while the urine has dried a little bit, it's still quite sticky to the touch, but it does still smell very heavily of the kind of popcorn smell that leopards have. So it's a good smell, and one that means that these tracks are fairly fresh. Unfortunately, no tracks for the little cubs in amongst her tracks, which I was hoping for. I was hoping to see the tiny little footprints. She has 2 cubs at the moment, and she's been moving them steadily this way from quite far to the west, and so I'm hoping that at some point she's going to bring them over. And that's why when I see tracks of her going up and down, it's always really quite exciting, because sometimes that can mean that she's trying to look for a new place, maybe to put the cubs, or might have a meal around. Now, sorry Emma, I'm afraid I've got 0 comms with you. I can't hear a word you've just said, and it's all breaking up far too much, unfortunately. There we go. Puma, you would say you would love to see hookadulus. I think all of us would. I think everybody is excited to see a hookadulu. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about when it comes to hookadulus, essentially Shidulu has mated with a male called Hukamuri, and so we've nicknamed the cubs hookadulus, but they actually are probably in all likelihood, we could be another male, but we're hoping that it is Hukamuri, and we quite like the name. So they've been coined the hookadulus for now, the 2 of them, and we'll have to maybe change the name of one to Shamuri and Hookadulu if we get the both of them. Exactly, we won't ruin your dream, don't worry, Emma. So it's exciting that she's been moving around. These tracks are from today. Like I say, you can see where she's walked early this morning, and then, oh, is that a drag mark? Hold on. Now, one must often look for... No, it's just where impalas have been fighting. I thought for a second we had a drag mark, which would be perfect, because if you have a drag mark, what that is when a leopard makes a kill, often they'll kill something and then they drag it, and the animal's carcass leaves a little line in the sand, and that can be really easy then to kind of track down, find, and be able to kind of find the leopard. So I thought for a second there we had a drag mark, but it was just the lines where impalas have been fighting. The one has scraped its hoofs through the kind of sand, and that's why it's got that appearance. But she could be anywhere here. I mean, she's, like I say, moving up and down, so we're going to try and just double check everywhere. I just want to make 100% sure that she hasn't crossed out already. Obviously, where the cubs are at the moment is a place called Red Dam, and Red Dam is about 300 meters, maybe a little bit more, 350, from where the boundary is on the western side, and so it's not far at all. So I just want to quickly check that road going there in case she's come in, kind of milled about, and then has gone back that way. But what's interesting is that the route that she takes, if she's just passing through, is this road, and I don't see her tracks at all, which is interesting. Anyway, we're going to try and see what we can find. We're going to check this boundary. Hopefully we get lucky. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you up across to David so he can finish things up for our kids' drive this afternoon.
Very good, Tristan. At least you have found out some tracks of Shidulu and leopard. Hopefully you might see it before long, who knows? And it is by seeing tracks that will always lead us to the actual owner of the tracks. Now, what do we have there? Is it an elephant? Oh, just a young elephant there, Bungay. I was wondering what that is. Sorry, boys and girls, we had better elephants before. It's another youngster here. And I looked at it and thought, is it a buffalo? Oops, or is it a rhino? But I would say it's a very clever elephant. It is eating in the shade because it is still very hot. But either way, he still keeps flapping, her ears because it's still hot in the day. This has been a wonderful, wonderful day, and I would say a very good Saturday for all of you boys and girls of Nat Geo Kids. And we are always so proud when we have you on the show. We love your questions. We love your comments. And I'm trying to imagine we're going to finish the show of today here in the Mara Triangle in Kenya, showing you that elephant and the beautiful savannah. Remember, I told you to say the name of that escarpment in the background there. You remember the name? And you say, oh, lo, lo, lo. Me and my camera operator, Bungay, we keep saying, oh, lo, 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 lo. Oh, la, 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 la. And I'm sure all of you, this is what you're going to be saying the whole of this weekend. Well, we might be ending our show with that note, boys and girls, and we want to thank you very, very much for having joined us. And hopefully we shall be seeing you again next weekend. And from all of us here in Kenya and South Africa, thank you and goodbye. We'll be right back with our regular viewers. Hello, all our regular viewers, and a very warm welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And you're starting with an elephant that's just feeding there in the shade. And I'm sure you all remember my face. And of course, my name has not changed. It is David. And with me on camera is Bungay. Bungay, good afternoon. Bungay goes. And that is an indication that it is a hot day. A hot day because we are definitely over 80s, and that is in Fahrenheit, and definitely over 30s in the metric system of centigrade. And this is normal in the month of February because our long range should start showing signs of coming come the month of March. As I said earlier, in the Mara Triangle and on our Sunset Drive today, we'll always, as usual, invite you to send us questions, comments, hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Now, this elephant here looks a bit unusual to me because I was just watching at her trunk and it seemed a little stunted. It didn't seem the normal length of, of what I would call a normal size of a trunk of an elephant. It seems short to me. Let's see if she's going to throw the trunk up. And also the way she's rounding off grass, like the normal elephants, that's not exactly what she's doing. Secondly, I'm looking at her tusks. Her tusks look a little smaller to me in comparison to her height. So what I'm saying, maybe I could be wrong. Her growth is not proportional. I don't think she's been feeding very well because of that one challenge of having a trunk that is either short or it might have been cut by something, or it could have been a genetical, factor to have a short trunk. Well, as I investigate to find out what could have happened, did you see that? See it? It's not the normal length of the elephants or trunks that we know. Well, I'm not alone out on the drive this afternoon. We got my friend Jamie, who maybe got something exciting saying hello to all of you in South Africa.
And what a lovely, lovely surprise it is. What a special moment. I've been desperately trying to make my way towards Tingana, who is on a cheetah cut line. But lo and behold, while trying to battle our way through the various vehicles, we found ourselves our own leopard in the form of a Klalamba, spread out next to a place called Gwari Pan, which was where Tristan had their tracks just, I think it was yesterday actually, to be honest. I've got no real clue as to the passage of time, but he said he had Tundi and Tlalamba's tracks here yesterday. So there you go, they've probably had a kill somewhere in this vicinity. And now little Tlalamba is enjoying the nice cool mud. Is that nice, girl? She's spread out almost to the point that her toes are in the water, panting away. So we didn't manage to find the birthday boy, but we've certainly done well with his various family members. They're probably gathering for a party. Because Tingana's walking along Cheetah Cut Line, which is very, very close to where we are. Giraffe Girl says, yoo-hoo! Giraffe Girl, I agree. I agree completely. Yoo-hoo indeed. I saw her tracks a second before. Seb's actually the one who spotted her. But I saw her tracks and I went, oh, that's fresh. And lo and behold, wouldn't you know it? It was very fresh indeed. So fresh she was right here. Nothing quite like that feeling of going, that track is positively shining, and then seeing the animal straight in front of you. Right, well, I hope no one's interested in this, because I can't listen to this Game Drive radio anymore. Dr. Rob, absolutely. Just chilling poolside is exactly what Tlalamba's doing, which I think is a very good way to spend a Saturday afternoon. I mean, if you're not at work, or if you don't find yourself at work, then sitting next to the pool is the perfect place to be. Lounging, I think, rather than sitting. Lounging along. I haven't actually seen her here in ages, so I'm really, really excited. Last time I saw Tlalamba was when I just came back from leave, I think. So I'm very excited. So while we sit patiently with the princess herself, off you go back across to David, who is in the Mara, and he's managed to get a bit closer to his elephant.
Well, Jamie, very good, and you better stick with that Princess of Joma there and don't go anywhere. Now, I've been able maybe to make more little deductions on this particular elephant here. One, I think she is a female. I could be wrong, but from the angle I was looking at her and looking at the shape of her head, it seems to me like she is a female. And her trunk definitely looks short than normal, and I don't think that was a genetic defect. It could have been some, unfortunately, man-made problem, and I'm guessing, unfortunately, could have been a snare of some sort, who knows, but she definitely got a shorter trunk than normal. Now, females or the cows will always go in herds, you know. They'll be in groups, a few females with their youngsters, but since I've been here, I haven't seen any other Ellie close to her. And that worries me a bit. Look at that trunk. Do you see that? And you notice she's not scooping. You know how the elephants grab grass like spaghetti? You know how you get your fork? Yeah, and Em is giving me an idea of giving her name and call her Tiny Tusk, because look at her, she is fully grown. As I said earlier, those tusks, as Em says, they're pretty short, and that's not the normal size of tusk for elephants of that age. So a name like Tiny Tusk to me fits her very well, and hopefully she'll make it. And I'm just a little concerned to see her on her own and not the rest of the group. But either way, elephants, being as clever as they are, she'll be able to feed herself. And there's kind of a laga there. A laga is like a drainage line where water flows. The green bushes you see there, that we call the Euclid divinorum. Karen, yeah, I will share, it's good that you share my worries that she is alone, because we know Ellies, and especially the cows, will be in herds, 5, 10, 20. And Karen, I'm sure, when we had the kids show, we had about, what, 20, 30 elephants together? A huge herd. So to see her alone is a bit of, worrying, but I'm sure most likely she's going to join the rest of the herd at one point. I've never seen her, and I've been to this particular area many times. I would say I always come here almost every day. I haven't seen her. I'm seeing her for the first time. Not sure she's a visitor coming from Tanzania. Who knows? From Serengeti National Park. It could be, but either way, she's welcome. I'm sure before long, she'll be getting friends. Well, I'll have to move, and maybe later on I might drive along this route, because the first big herd that we saw earlier is about 2 miles from where we are now. And chances are she might go and link up with them, and she should be, I think, at home to be able to join them. Well, I need now to look for some lions, because Jamie already got the Princess of Juma. I'm not sure why she saw the princess and not the queen. And we'll take you back, thank you, Tristan, to find out how the search is going on in Juma.
Well, once again, same story that it's been the last few days, is that everybody else is going to be finding animals, and sadly we are going to be finding very little. That's the way it kind of is going at the moment. It looks like Shadulu has crossed out into Arathusa, unfortunately, and so we once again missed her brief foray into Vuyatela. She seems to keep doing this, where she kind of just comes in for a little bit and out again, but it just to be kind of her walking through. I want to just go back and double check, see if I can maybe backtrack. Maybe, you never know, there's a carcass somewhere and she's gone to go and suckle the cubs for the day, and then she'll come back later. It's worth double checking in any case, but here's what it is. I'm afraid we have boundaries, and well, the cats don't, and so they move around all over the place. But nice that Tlalamba is around. The tracks yesterday were fresh, and we just needed to, I don't know, maybe check around a little bit more, and maybe we would have found them yesterday afternoon. I'm still convinced that there's a kill somewhere around that area where Jamie is with Tanya and Tlalamba. There was too many tracks going around and round and drinking at that path to indicate that they weren't, that there isn't a kill somewhere there. Whether it's on Torchwood side or our side is obviously debatable, but we're gonna, well, hopefully Jamie will find wherever it is. Maybe Tanya and Tlalamba are together, which would be quite nice. Either way, it's still good that we at least have a cat for the afternoon, and so now it'll just be good if the rock star of all of them, Hosana, decided to show up. Now, talking about Tlalamba, I'm going to send you back across to Jamie while I go back and see what I can find with these tracks and see whether or not somehow we can get lucky and find something. In the meantime, though, hopefully Tlalamba will entertain all of you.
Chilling poolside, very, very hard. I'm sorry, Trist. I was hoping that Shadulu might actually make an appearance. I was just as excited. Unfortunately, it seems as though she has moved off. But fortunately, we're with Tlalamba now, and I think there's a very good chance, if there is still a kill in the area, that she might lead us back to her mom as well. So she probably came here for a bit of rest and relaxation. I doubt that Tundi is very far. I think for them to have been in this area for as long as they have, for over 24 hours, I think there's a very, very good chance that there's a kill here. So we haven't... I can't do this. I'm sorry. Goodbye. Goodbye, radio. I have turned it off. I have called her in and I have turned it off. It is absolute chaos out there this afternoon. Thank you, my girl. I know it was very dramatic. I don't usually turn my game drive radio off, but I have reached the stage where my brain is about to start leaking out of my left ear due to the input through the right ear. So, oh, you sleepy girl. You're a relatively full belly. I don't know how big this kill was, if it's all finished or not. But she does look as though she has eaten something. Oh, pretty girl. Hopefully we have a continued legacy of Karulas inhabiting Juma. Riti wants to know how old she is. She must be now, 14 months? She was born in November 2017. So, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, she's 15 months now. Or almost 15 months old now. Getting big. She's almost the same size as Tundi is now. Tundi's not a very big leopard, and I don't think that Tlalamba is going to be very large in size either. So already we've seen Tundi mating with Tingana, albeit very briefly and not really in a true estrus cycle kind of a way. But it does mean that in the future, very soon, Tundi is actually going to be mating properly and going into her next full estrus cycle. And that, of course, means that for Tlalamba, independence is just around the corner. But that's okay. 15 months old plus a 3-month gestation period puts her at 1.5 years. That's perfect for a young female. And typically, of course, the females become independent far quicker than the males do. She's actually got quite large front paws now that I look at them next to her head. She hasn't grown into them. Sherry says that her paws are mesmerizing. There we go. Sherry and I are on exactly the same page. They are, aren't they? She's quite large. I think she's still got some growing into them to do. Like Tumba, exactly like Tumba. Tumba also needed to grow into his feet. And his ears. Tlalamba's ears are not quite as big as Tumba's were compared to his body when he was a cub. He had Dumbo-type ears. He really did. I loved him for it. I loved his ears. But he really did have oversized ears. Oversized ears and bottle green eyes. Pretty boy. You know, dangling her toes in the water. That's an interesting question, Puma. Puma wants to know whether or not we've ever found evidence that some leopards are smarter than others. I'm inclined to say no, but I'm hesitant there. It's a really difficult one to answer. I really think that with leopards, you know, we've spent time with unique individuals, and we definitely spend more time with certain individuals than we do with others. And within that, I've found that the females are quite clever in the way that they're very easily able to ditch us. Or I don't know if it's clever or if they just prefer to leave us in their dust sometimes, just on days when they don't feel like having people around them or having vehicles around them. They manage to take us through the most dense vegetation possible and leave us hanging. Would I say some? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. They definitely have unique personalities. I mean, if you look at Hosanna and the way he is and his odd little social characteristics and all of those sorts of things, I think there is that aspect. There are aspects to their personalities, but I wouldn't necessarily say I've known one to be more intelligent than another. Also a dangerous path you could lead me down, because I could call the wrong leopard less intelligent than others might think it is. Seb, what do you think? You know of intelligent leopards? I mean, I think they're all on the same level. I think so.
Some are more skilled than others.
Some are more skilled. I think some are more skilled at certain things than others. I think that there's definitely specialists, or at least there are some leopards that specialize in certain types of prey. And I think that some perhaps are, I don't know. I also think that a particularly unintelligent leopard is probably not going to survive very long, which might also be why we're dealing with a sort of a standard minimum base level. There you go. Chris is on the same page again. You guys are predicting where my train of thought is going. Yes, absolutely. The dumb ones don't survive very long. Oh, goodness. Hang on. Sorry, just bear with me a moment. Okay, if you don't stop talking, I can't give you an update. Yeah, you can make your way. She's still static at the water's edge. Ah! I can't get hold of her. No, you can't get hold of me. That's because every time I try and talk to you, someone else is talking over me. I'm not allowed to tell you any of these things. I'm certainly not allowed to speak any of these thoughts aloud. But that is what's currently going on in my head right now. I'm about to imitate one member of the Wild Earths team and smash the radio on the dashboard. While I figure this out and try not to smash my radio on the steering wheel, off you go across to David, and I will be back with you as soon as I've got everything under control.
Well, so sorry about that, Jamie, because of the irritation of the game drive radio. But the one big advantage we got here, we do not have game drive radios, because what we do, we don't have a common frequency with anybody around. So we have to work very hard for ourselves to get the animals. If we don't, if you're unlucky, then that's it. And we are always, or sometimes it's very dry, and we get very frustrated. We'll have to wait until you physically meet with another vehicle and ask the guide, have you seen anything and where is it? Otherwise, unlike in Juma, where you can use a game drive radio and you compare notes, here, zero. It's you and your search on your own. Well, we are already in the Sausage Republic, and the Sausage Republic is an area I have always seen and followed the pride of lions, but I call the sausages. I haven't seen one, and I'm just trying to console myself. It's because of the heat of the day. Daniel, what is the question? Do lions live quiet or something? And leopards what? As I try to look around here. Getting very hot here. And I'm sure. And very good. Now, Daniel, that's a very good question. And why do lions live in groups and leopards will be solitary? Now, in general, lions are very social, and when they hunt, they need a combination of forces to be able to hunt. But I would say, above all, their success depends on their numbers. Now, leopards, depending on from what leopards hunt from their prey, you don't need two leopards to hunt, for example, an impala. You will need one. Now, Daniel, look at a buffalo. One lioness or one lion, it's going to be a tough call for it to bring a buffalo down. So you will need 4, 5, 6 of them to bring, for example, a buffalo down. And I would say, you know, in terms of survival, that could be one of the reasons why you get lions in groups or in prides, and leopards being very solitary. Well, this is the area that they always live, but I'm thinking from where we've been seeing them the last 1 week, they might have moved a little further following a herd of buffaloes, because Bungay is going to just pan and show you how beautiful this area is. As much as it looks empty, it is just an area with what I would call a sea of grass. And this is the savannah. If you look, you only see the grass, maybe a bird or two flying here and there, but also the trees, the tortured trees, and nothing else. Now, if you are here sometimes October last year, and guitar, you're asking why or what about radio? Now, we do have a radio, but our radio only communicates with our office, or our radio communicates with the camp. But we don't have a frequency to communicate with other game drive radios out here. So should a vehicle break down, we are able to call for help very quickly from the camp. So we have a radio that is only meant for us. Guitar, you can see that? So if I need to call the office or the camp for an emergency, I have run short of gas, I want some coffee, I want some, drink, I can always use this. Or I want some card, or batteries have run low, or we are missing something, so we have a radio to use. But this is just for internal use. I was saying earlier, if you'd come here a few months ago, this area was dotted or was full of wildebeest which have left. And now what has been left behind now are the buffaloes, which are the ones sustaining the lions until maybe June, July of this year, when the wildebeest come back from Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. So you'll need the lions to be in a group or in a pride, 5, 6, 7, to bring down than buffaloes. Jamie, that's a very interesting question. Do I think some lions are more intelligent than others? I would say that is interesting to discuss because, well, same species, Panthera leo, same size. The habitats, Jamie, could be different though, here and there, looking at, for example, the savanna of the Mara and the thick vegetation, for example, of Juma, or the western fringes of Kruger National Park. I don't know what I would say. Are there, lions being clever than others? It could be possible. I don't know for a fact. I do not know. I have never thought about it. But I've seen certain prides of lions being more successful than others. I have seen certain prides of lions, when it comes to hunting, they are always winning. And there are certain prides, given the same conditions of hunting, you get some winning. There's a particular pride here in the Mara that we call the Mara River Pride. And we usually make a joke. Anytime they spot a zebra, and we all go and we get excited with the cameras and tell Bungay, now, it's going to be a hunt, it's going to be a hunt. And then we make a joke, this pride, we're so used to them, we'll always think they're going to do something, and then they end up doing nothing. Well, in that sense, yes, but saying some lions are more clever than others, I don't know, but that could be an interesting debate and, story to talk about. Now, where are my lions? So the biggest challenge at the moment where we are is the grass is very high and could be very tricky just to drive through the grass, not sure what's in the grass. A boulder, a big hole like of a warthog, and you might easily damage the car. So we just have to stick on the road until Lady Luck will strike, and maybe we spot either a lioness or a lion flicking the tail in the grass. That could be very good news. Otherwise, because it's still a bit warm, we may need to wait for the temperatures to calm down a little bit for us to spot the sausage tree pride. But this is basically their home range. This is their home turf. Natural, well, I'll tell you, the king-tail babies are somewhere. And the other day, this is like 4 days ago, Nature Girl, I was able to identify the den of king-tail cubs. And, Nature Girl, I'll tell you what, I even had them. But the angle of that den was so bad that I tried to look and I lifted myself up. And the only thing I saw was a tail of king-tail. I think I only about saw 2 inches of king-tail, and that was it. We couldn't see them. She has hid them in such a place that maybe until they're about, 7 days old, 10 days old, is when she'll start bringing them out. And Nature Girl, Mitty is one of the lionesses in the sausage tree pride, has been able to bring her cubs out. So until king-tail is comfortable that her cubs can come out, they have opened their eyes and they can move around, we might have to wait maybe another day or two, Nature Girl, for that to happen. But as soon as it happens, keep watching because we will let you know. Now I'm thinking of changing my course of direction here because I'm not even smelling luck, the direction I'm going. So what I want to do, I want to move another 1 mile ahead of me I'm not lucky. I'm going to make a U-turn, go in a different direction. And as I do that, let's find out any updates that Tristan got in Juma.
David, I'm afraid it seems as though my nose has been completely cut off, and that I can't smell anything at this stage because, I don't know, we've got nothing. There seems to be everybody with everything else, but we're struggling a little bit. Unfortunately, it goes like this sometimes. You just got to kind of carry on and see how it goes. Kind of even been looking for small stuff and have had absolutely no joy, no sign of birds, no sign of any animals whatsoever. We backtracked Shadulu and found exactly where she came out of Arathusa, and she walked a big loop through Juma and then back again. The good thing is that she went through a drainage line where we once had Shadow and Not Barbara when Not Barbara was small, and I wonder if she's not just scouting that little drainage section. Interesting, we'll see, because she kind of came in, walked southwards, round, turned, and then came back north again and out, and her tracks go straight towards Red Dam, so I'm pretty sure she's gone back towards the Cubs at this stage, which is par for the course. It's okay. I mean, half of me knew already when we started tracking those tracks that the chances were very slim that she was still on our side. The distance between that western road and the boundaries in places not even 25 meters, and so as soon as she turns west on that road, you know that you're done for, unless you're going to kind of catch her crossing the road, but even then it's not going to be a long sighting. So you know, I try and kind of always just stay positive when it comes to tracking her, but a lot of the time, you know, and Hukamuri, both of them on that road, half of you already knows that they aren't going to be anywhere close by, and you've got to hope that either they're on a kill or they've decided to turn more to the east and kind of head towards Zoe's side, which in this case unfortunately didn't happen. Anyway, we'll see what we can do. Now I believe a lot of you are sending enthusiastic, motivational things. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Unfortunately, some days it just doesn't go your way. It's okay that it happens like that. It makes you appreciate when things do go your way. It's one of those things. You lost the word. What do you mean you lost the word, Emma? Just saying hello to some of the guys that are driving past. Emma hasn't come back to me. Oh, well, that doesn't help. Emma was trying to say motivational words, but she lost the ability to say the word, which doesn't help at all. But we got the point, don't worry, Emma, we got the gist of what you were trying to say. And like I said, I mean, it happens, you know, these days like this, sometimes as a guide you get into few days where you really struggle to find anything, and then all of a sudden you'll find one thing and then you trip over animals for a few weeks, and so, you know, it goes that way. Like I say, hopefully we'll break our luck at some point. I'm looking forward though to seeing if Shadulu does come around more. I'm going to check that road pretty much every day, just to monitor her tracks and see whether or not she's coming in more frequently, because maybe she's even moving around there a lot more than we know. She definitely was there at some point during the course of this morning, because the tracks are on top of the rain that we had last night. We obviously didn't have much rain, but there was a few sprinkles, and it's on top of that, so it indicates that she was around somewhere early this morning, maybe even just after drive that she went that way, or during drive even, actually. Good. Right, now we're going to try check Treehouse Dam, see if there's any sign of Hosanna. We're going to try and just slowly head eastwards in the hope that we can maybe pick up for something for him. In the meantime though, I'm going to send you across to Jamie with a very sleepy Clalamba.
If anyone can find Hosanna before the end of the Sunset Safari, then I'm certain that Tristan can. We are sitting with Hosanna's half-sister / niece. Is that right? Yes. Half-sister / niece. She is the daughter of his older sister, as well as the daughter of his father. Hello, pretty girl. It's all good. Definitely not nearly as relaxed as her uncle / half-brother. When it comes to vehicles, you've got to be a little bit more cautious around her. She's chilled, but she is not quite as chilled as Hosanna. She likes to choose to make her approach I see she's got a little nick out of her right ear that I've never noticed before. It's just a little bit of a change to the outline there. Same eyes as Tumba. That beautiful green. I love green-eyed leopards. Emma, are we on some kind of psychic connection here? This is getting ridiculous. S.A. Tina would like to know what kind of color eyes, what kind of color eyes leopards can have. I've seen leopards with blue eyes. Mvula, of course, had very blue eyes. You get the bottle green, like a Tumba. You get the sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Hazelnut. A sort of mixture between brown and green of Hosanna. Then you get sort of golden-eyed leopards, although that's quite a rare color. You don't see many leopards with that sort of color. The greeny brown is the most common. And then there was Shongile, who, if she was still alive, would also be turning 3 years old today, although you never know. Perhaps she's celebrating her birthday somewhere ridiculous, like in the middle of the Kruger National Park. But Shongile had the brownest eyes I've ever seen on a leopard. They were chocolate brown, chocolate glowing, beautiful brown eyes. I've never seen eyes like that. And from when she was small, they didn't retain their brown color completely. They did start to go the sort of greenish, or get a bit of a greenish tint to them. But she really did have the most exquisite eyes as a cub. And I'm so sad I don't have more pictures of her. But that's about it when it comes to leopard eyes. Basically almost the same color spectrum as human eyes. It just so happens that the green is the most common. Apparently you're enjoying the description of Shongile's chocolate eyes. She had the most heart-melting face. She really did. We love Hosanna, we do. And he always looked like a goofball, but Shongile just inspired absolute adoration from anybody who ever looked at her. Not that there's many young leopards that don't. I mean, you don't exactly ever look at a leopard cub and think, oh, I don't know about that one, actually. It's kind of, I could take it or leave it. Everyone falls in love with a leopard cub. Hey, Tlalamba. I know everybody fell in love with you from the moment you made your tiny, fluffy appearance over a year ago now. You hot girl. I can really see you panting. She was so cute. You know, I was so jealous. I was in the Mara, which obviously is a wonderful place to be, but to miss out on my favorite leopard's next cub. MGN would like us to show some Hosanna cub clips for his birthday, and absolutely, if you go and have a look at our social media pages, then you will find that there is a wonderful collection of Hosanna cub clips. And of course, if you join us tomorrow for Safari Lives, we're going to be doing a very special episode dedicated to the birthday boy himself. My favorite sighting of Hosanna, while we're dealing with Sleepy Tlalamba, was an experience I shared with him rather than something that he did. It takes me back to a TV series in the beginning of it was February 2017. So at that point he was, what, a year old? No. How old was he? Wait a minute. Was it January, February? It must have been. He must have been a year old. So it must have been just before Karula disappeared. Oh, which actually makes it quite sad. But he was sitting in a weeping wattle, and Karula had an impala kill that Taylor had witnessed the night before. And we had them during the TV show. And back in the day, even though we thought we had disconnected the vehicle hooter or horn, we call it a hooter in South Africa, you'd call it a horn, you know, the thing that you press in traffic to make people move out of your way, where they're very stupid. So we thought we'd disconnected it, but Wendy somehow short-circuited through her immobilizer and went off. as we were going into an ad break during a live Nat Geo TV show. So, Emma, if you think that my coughing fit was bad the other day during the rehearsal, it's got nothing on that. And I can't actually give the full impression of it because we're sitting next to Tlalama, but it went bah, as Kirsten was counting me down into the ad break, and I couldn't make it stop. Nothing I did. I pressed every button. I turned the car off. I turned the car on. And next to me was Hosanna staring at us as we went into the ad break, sort of 15 seconds to go. So that's a memory that I share with Hosanna. Thank goodness he was so relaxed about it. Thank goodness. Imagine how that would have looked as I set off my vehicle horn during a leopard sighting, and if he'd got up and run away. He just looked at me like I was completely batty. What is this woman doing, making this loud noise? Oh, it was excruciatingly embarrassing. It was absolutely agonizing. I will never forget it. I think at this point my skin's so thick nothing embarrasses me anymore, but that was pretty embarrassing at the time. My other favorite sighting with Hosanna was when he fell out of a tree once. Shame, but he hurt his foot, and then the next day we found him lying in a rhino midden, and he was playing with Shongile. And he tried to climb up on a log with his sore foot, and he didn't quite manage it, and she just pushed him off. She just unhooked his feet. He had both front feet up and his back feet were dangling, and she just reached over with her paw and unhooked both his front feet and let him tumble. And then he got chased by a hyena, and he went up the first tree he could find, which happened to be a thorn tree. And then as he came down again once the hyena left, he left patches of fur floating out of the tree. I think those are sitting with him on foot when he used to play with us when he was younger, when he used to play stalk us. It was also quite special. And when he made his first baby Nyala kill, it wasn't even that baby in a Nyala. Quinyon wants to know if a female's noses darken quicker. No, I wouldn't say that there is a difference between male and female that I've observed. I have seen males' noses darken with age. I've seen females' noses darken with age. You have to be careful, though, because sometimes you get the odd leopard whose nose just resolutely stays pink, even as they get older. And you've got an older leopard with a pink nose that absolutely deceives everybody who looks at it. But I haven't noticed, I don't know, I would be hesitant to say that there's any difference between the nose of a male and the nose of a female and the way that they darken. There's no real reason for them to darken at a different rate. Isn't that beautiful? And I think it's only going to get better. We're going to have a really stunning evening with Tlalamba while we wait. Speaking of stunning evenings, David is enjoying the sunset of the Masai Mara.
Well, I think Jamie has a point there, and I've always thought that given a choice of the three cats that we got here in Africa, I'm talking about the big cats, I'm talking about cheetahs, leopards and lions, if I would be able, or if I would be asked to choose on one to research on, I would settle on leopards. I think leopards have a lot to offer, and they have, a lot of things we would learn from leopards. There's a time I would say weeks ago, we were comparing all the cubs of cheetahs, leopards and lions, and we asked the viewers, which cubs are more appealing to watch, in play. And most of the viewers said leopard cubs. I think it was me and Sydney and Tristan. And ideally, as guides, we have been to different guiding schools. And of course, we are all of different backgrounds. We normally differ in so many, way of how we look at things. But of course, there are certain facts that are black and white that we have to, we agree on. And you'll get, for example, one guide said, I love lion cubs myself. No. Lion cubs don't count. Cheetah cubs are the best. Then another one will be saying, leopard cubs. But that was a very interesting discussion because the three of us agreed that leopard cubs are the most adorable to watch while they play. Well, I don't want to say I'm frustrated as yet, because here in the African wilderness, you usually say you never say never until you are out of this bush. And of course, M in the final control says, asked of the 3 species of cubs, leopards, cheetahs, and lions, should say the leopard cubs are the more fun to see. The only difference is leopards in general will get 1 cub, but occasionally they also get 2. Unlike lions, for example, in the prey that I'm searching for, there's one particular female, it's called Mitty. She got 4 cubs. So people or the viewers, including myself and Sidney and Tristan, agreed, I'll bet leopards having 1 cub. When that cub is playing and the mother is in the play mode, it's the most exciting thing you'll see, you know, on leopard cubs. So Emma, also in the final control, thinks, she agrees, or she says that is very true. And Roger Shark, you're asking about the male, the male leopard of the shepherd tree. No, not that we have seen it, but I'll tell you what, where I am now, this is his territory. I've seen him here 2 times, and I think Isaac have seen him here once. So we have seen him within this month or month and a few days, 3 times here. The first time I saw him, he was mating with another female that have a territory here. And apparently it was a New Year. It was 1st of January, which, looking at my calendar and clock, it was about midnight in North America when they were mating. So I was saying that would be called, you know, a New Year's Eve baby. Well, and I saw him a few days ago. We haven't seen him again. He's not shy, but I think he tends to remain in the thickets. So that day I saw him when, you know, he was mating, and recently I just saw him while walking through the grass, just by sheer luck. We were watching some lilac-breasted rollerbirds on top of a tree, 2 of them, and I thought that was quite exciting to see 2 rollers on a tree, and we are trying to, you know, find out which was a male, which was a female, because it's very difficult. I mean, the rollers don't have sexual dimorphism. So as we were doing that, Bungay told me, you know what, David, there's a very huge lioness walking that thicket there. And I just turned and I told him, no, that's not a lion, it's a leopard. And he said, no, it's a lioness, but that was the shepherd tree male leopard. We haven't seen him since then, but he's definitely about and around somewhere. What is in my head now is to get these lions, the sausages, which this is their playing ground. Nick, when will the world be returned in the Mara? Now, last year, they came in rather late, getting close to August. In general, the cycle is every June. They're here until maybe end of October or end of September. But last year, they came in solid. And if they're going to go back to their normal cycle, the normal routine that we know of, it will be around June, July. That's the time we expect them to be here. So again, time will tell. That's what we think. But, you know, Mother Nature have its own way of doing things. Now, where are these girls? Or at least one of the males of the Old Donyo Pike. I'm going a little bit of a tricky area, that the signal is quite poor. We'll always go in a little drainage. And if we lose it, it'll be a few seconds. So, not wanting to lose my signal, I'll take you back to South Africa and find out how the princess is doing.
Good luck, Gigi. I hope you manage to find your lions. I know what it's like, especially during a rehearsal, to not have them in the Mara, because, of course, a lot of the animals move quite far away from the road, so you really, really struggle if you haven't managed to find your animals before it gets dark. Kalamba's up. No, she's not on edge, but she is definitely alert. I don't know whether or not Tingana actually popped past here at some point. If he did, though, I don't think he would still be moving, because he would have stolen the kill. Which actually tells me that either the kill is finished or he didn't come here. And I certainly don't think that Hassan has been round here as well. Is she? I thought she was calling there for a second. Where are you, Tundi? I wouldn't mind having 2 leopards this afternoon. I mean, I know it's a bit spoiled. And it would be quite pleasant if we could have 2 leopards. Oh! Now, James, speaking of leopard mothers, you want to know where Hosanna's mother is now. Unfortunately, we do not know what happened to her. It is accepted that she has passed on. She died of natural causes. We don't know exactly what it was. Presumably old age, maybe slowed her reflexes. Perhaps she had a bad encounter with a lion or a hyena, because she disappeared quite suddenly. But she vanished when he was 14 months old. So in March 2017. It's been 2 years since Karula was last seen, and it devastated everyone. But she is definitely no longer with us. That would be, of course, Tlalamba's grandmother, Karula. Oh, she looks like Tingana there for a second. What you doing, girl? What you doing? You silly girl. Anna says that the beauty was definitely passed down. I agree that she's definitely got a really lovely look to her. She's got quite a long nose. Personally, I think she's got a little bit of Tingana in her. When she does that in particular, I saw it around the eyes. Definitely saw a bit of Tingana there. But yes, she is a beautiful girl. She's very sweet and showing every sign shortly of getting up. Pretty tiny little thing. Tundi's quite a small leopard. Oh, is your head itchy? Oh. I love it when they do that and they look back at you. It's too gorgeous. I also feel that Tlalamba has the longest whiskers of any cat ever. All leopards have long whiskers. Oh, look how messed up her fur is there. It's all damp from where she was lying in the wet mud. You having a bad hair day there, Tlalamba? You're a bit of a tomboy. Doesn't seem to be bothering her. Oh, that's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Ladybird says that she's so ladylike. I know. Isn't she just? Little tomboy leopard. You comfy there, Tlalamba? Is that nice? The flies bugging you. Where's your mummy? She, of course, is spending more and more time away from Tundi, which is all part of the natural progression of independence. I often wonder how they feel about it, though. I often wonder whether or not they're aware of it happening on any sort of conscious level, whether it brings them any sort of anxiety or anything like that, or if that's just anthropomorphizing a bit too much. But I often find myself wondering about that, whether it brings the mother's anxiety, or whether they just find themselves completely impatient with them after a while. Everything's governed by instinct, so I don't suppose there's that much conscious thought to it. Look at her whiskers. They're ridiculous. She's got the thickest, whitest, longest whiskers. So while I admire the almost grown-up Tlalamba, David is looking for lion cubs that still have a long way to go.
Yes, I'm looking for lion babies, maybe much smaller, much younger than Tlalamba, because if we see my lion babies, we'll be talking about a few weeks old. I don't know how that sunset Bungay looks. Do you think the sunset you enjoy? Bungay is very particular sunset. Any sunset he doesn't like, he'll tell me, David, that is nonsense. Can you keep moving on? And if he's going to put his camera there, it will mean he's happy with that sunset. And this gives me a moment to think what direction I'm going to take from here to get to these babies, as Jamie is talking about, lion babies, because she got lumber there. I need to see the calves of Mitty and the calves of Limpy and the other one female in the sausage tree pride. And of course, Kingtail, if she is going to show us her calves, she hasn't let them out of the den as yet, and my guess is because they're still very young. Well, that is the western horizon, and that is the Ololore escarpment as the sun is setting down there, and this brightens my spirit on what I call my golden moment. I'll bet the little dodgy lions that I'm getting now, but I'm sure at one point they will show up. I'm not giving up. I'm here, and hopefully gonna be able to get them out of the grass. My biggest challenge at the moment, as I said earlier, is the height of the grass. The grass is quite high, and of course you cannot just go drawing in the grass because of all the wrong things that could happen. Well, Tristan, do you have some good news for us?
Well, isn't that a sight for sore eyes? Standing in front of us, you can see it's the Duke. So he's busy moving about on Torchwood at the moment, and he's not exactly full, but looking pretty good as well. So nice to see him moving around. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance that we're in an area where it's going to be touch and go with signal. So we tried to just get you a view, and I'm going to try follow him. But if we break up a little bit, just bear with us. We should get better signal the way that he's walking. It should be a lot better as we go up this road a little bit. We should start to get more of a sort of height to be able to see Chitla's tower. And so our signal will go up and down a little bit, but it should get better as we go. Either way, though, at least it's Tingana. The other interesting part is that I came across tracks for what looks like Osana too, which I've sent James to go and have a look quickly. He's coming out for the rehearsal this evening, so I've sent James to where those tracks are. They look like they're going north up the Mulwati, which would explain why we haven't seen him, because it looks like they've come out of Little Gari, and the tracks are fairly small in comparison to some of the other males that we have around here. Now I'm going to stop here in the hope that we still have reception and that we can be able to see him moving down the road. Now, Sammy Jane, you say he came for some cake. Indeed, he did come for some cake. He's hopefully going to lead us to the birthday boy himself. Now, I'm going to just try and follow him because he's going to disappear behind a branch there. So we're going to just try and see if we can get past here quickly and say thank you to these guys. Hi, guys. How are you doing? Are you, Chris? You well, bud? Good. So it's just one of the guys that we know very well that's here at the moment. So nice to see him and say hello. I haven't seen him since last year, which is nice to always kind of just catch up with some of the guys. Now, looks like he's turning back towards kind of Djuma side. It might be because he wants to try and sort of stalk something. Often where we are at the moment is very close to Torchwood Dam, and oh no, he's going to lie down there, which is almost impossible to see him. Now you can see, this is the thing about leopards and camouflage. If you drove past here and he went completely flat, even though he's 10 meters from where we are at the moment, it would make it very difficult to see him. And this is why in summer it's harder to spot these guys, is that they go into grass like that, and as you can see, unless you're really paying attention, you're not going to be able to see him at all. Right, now I'm going to just try and see if I can reposition slightly. Unfortunately, we don't really have much time, so what I'm going to rather do is actually send you back across to Jamie so that you can see a leopard for the end of the show.
Awesome. I'm very happy to hear that Tingana looks as though he's going to move back towards Djuma. That is really, really good news. Hopefully all the leopards that we've encountered today are going to stick around until tomorrow afternoon. That would be really quite wonderful if they could be that considerate. You never know, though. We always have to play it by ear and fly by the seat of our pants, so to speak. It occurred to me as I was saying it wasn't the most appropriate expression for it, but there you go. Hopefully Tlalamba is still around. Look at the belly on her. She is looking absolutely enormous. Very, very large bellied. So they've definitely had a kill here for the last 2 days, which is always a slightly frustrating feeling, because then you know that we've missed out on them. All right. So, Sharon has sent through a happy birthday wish, although we didn't find him. His younger sister will have to do. Sharon says, happy birthday, little chief, and may he survive a long time. I absolutely agree. I couldn't agree with your sentiments more. I wish him a healthy and happy life. And may he make an appearance, preferably, over the course of the next few days. So happy birthday, Hosanna. I cannot believe it has been 3 years. It's absolutely crazy. And that brings us to the end of the Sunset Safari. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you for the Sunrise Safari. Thank you for everything.